This is Gagan Girotra, IIT Roorkee class of 2000, and I am Calcutta class of 2005. Welcome to another video on para summary. Now, I've picked a paragraph from this newspaper. Yeah, so you may want to pause this video and take a look at this. Okay, I assume you've read this paragraph now. Now, you may want to take a look at these four options. You feel free to pause the video again. All right, so I assume that you've read the paragraph and the four options which are likely to be their summaries, and we have to select the most optimum summary of that paragraph. Now let's go step by step in figuring out the correct para summary of this paragraph. Now the step one that I typically advise students is to try and summarize each sentence, yeah, very quickly. First sentence is, in the public mind, political corruption is the source of most forms of corruption. So I've summarized this as follows. So, public beliefs, political corruption, source of most forms of corruption. Okay. Let's look at the second longish sentence. No doubt, Finance Minister was seeking to address this concern about the lack of transparency and accountability in the funding of political parties when he announced measures in the union budget to cleanse the process of making donations toward election expenses of parties. Okay, so the way I've summarized this is, Finance Minister, he's trying to address this concern. What concern is this? Political corruption and no transparency or accountability in political funding. Okay, so this is the concern that Finance Minister is trying to address. And how does he plan to address this? He has announced cleanup measures in the union budget. Okay, let's go to the third sentence. But his proposals are doomed to fail, not because they do not go far enough, but because they go in the wrong direction. Okay, so these proposals will be failure. This is according to the author. Now the author is giving us his opinion. Okay, so the author's opinion is that these proposals are going to fail. Why? Because they go in the wrong direction, not because they do not go far enough. Okay, right. Let's look at the fourth sentence, again a longish sentence. The ceiling of 2000 rupees on cash donation by any individual to a party, slashed from the existing 20,000, might just inconvenience parties to some extent, but unlikely to stop disguising of huge off the books cash donations from corporate houses, vested interests, as small contributions from the ordinary party workers and sympathizers. Okay, so what is happening these days is that the corporate houses, right, who make off the books large cash donations, their donations are presented in the books as small contributions, maybe up to 20,000 rupees from ordinary workers and sympathizers, right? And what this proposal, so we've figured out what this proposal is, right? So Finance Minister's proposal is to cut this 20,000 ceiling to 2,000. So the ceiling has been cut to 1/10, right? So the how we summarize this is, the proposal details are, there is a ceiling on cash donations made, and this is only going to slow down but not stop, because you notice this, it might inconvenience parties to some extent, right? So there's going to be an inconvenience, which means that this is going to slow down but not entirely stop. All right, let's move on to the next few sentences. Okay, so all that the parties will now have to do is find more people to lend their names to these donations, or better still, find more names of unsuspecting people to be listed as cash donors, right? So now he's telling us, the author is telling us the modus operandi that these parties are going to employ. What? They will just find more false names as donors. Okay, next sentence. The proposal does not disrupt the flow of illicit political donations, only channels it differently. Okay, and it will not reduce the proportion of cash from unverifiable sources in the total donations received. So there's no disruption to the flow of illegal political donations. It only changes the methodology by which it reaches the parties. Next, if Mr. Jaitley was indeed intent on getting the political class to truly account for their donations, he should have placed a cap on the amount a party may receive in cash as donation, right? So how we summarize this is, in this sentence, actually the author is presenting what he's presenting an alternative plan to what Mr. Jaitley has proposed, and he's saying is that what he proposes here is more likely to succeed. So we summarize this. If finance minister's intentions were true, then he would have capped the total cash amount, not the cash received per individual. Okay, last sentence. In any case, the declared income is only a small part of their funding. There means the political parties, much of which is spent during elections mobilization efforts without coming under the radar of the election commission or the IT department. Right? So he says, anyway, declared income is very small part of the political funding, and it is anyway spent without notifying to the authorities. Now that we've summarized all these sentences, yeah, we will present these sentences in a single screen for you to look at. Okay. So public believes that political corruption is source of most forms of corruption. Now finance minister tries to address this problem through announcing some measure in union budget. What he has proposed is that the ceiling per individual goes down, right? But his proposals are going to fail. Why? Because they go in the wrong direction, not because they don't go far enough. Parties will just find a way around this, right? And so this is what this sentence is saying, that parties will find a way around this. There's going to be no disruption at all in the political donations. Only the methodology will change. Now in this sentence, the author presents a solution. If finance minister's intentions were indeed true, then he would have capped the total cash amount, not the cash per individual. And lastly, the declared income of these parties is anyway spent without notifying the authorities. All right. So now that we have all the individual sentence summaries, and by reading them very quickly, we are also able to get some kind of a flow, how this paragraph is flowing. Now what we do is we figure out the keywords that have been mentioned. So the keywords are political corruption. Another keyword is finance minister's proposal, right? And this proposal is actually to cut individual political donation, right? What he's done is he's cut the size of the donation per individual, not the size of the donation received per party. Yeah. And another keyword is political funding. So if I may piece all of them together, look at this part in bold. This seems to be a reasonably accurate summary. So finance minister's new proposal to curb the corruption is unlikely to be effective because it addresses the wrong issue. Yeah. And the perpetrators or the political parties can work around it. Okay. So this is the summary. Okay. Now let's look at all the options and let's see what they say. So the first option says, political parties will get inconvenienced by this proposal to check illegal political funding. Right. Now, does this talk about why this proposal is going to fail? No, it does not. Okay. It also does not talk about some of the other things like the proposal to check illegal political funding it falls short and so on. So this is probably an incomplete summary. Okay. Let's look at the second one. Finance minister's proposal to check illegal political funding reduces the limit on cash donation per individual that a party can receive. Okay, so this is just one of the facts. This is just one of the facts that the paragraph is mentioning. This option is incomplete. Why? Because it does not tell us the opinion of the author. Okay, so therefore, while this mentions some part of the paragraph, yes, but it is still not complete. Let's look at the third option. There is some likelihood of controlling all types of corruption through Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's proposal to check illegal political funding. Now, first thing is that we have been told that there is absolutely no likelihood, right, and that too of checking the political corruption. So we are not going to look at this option at all because this is this goes in a completely different direction. And lastly, Finance Minister proposal to check illegal political funding will fail because it addresses the wrong problem. All right, so this actually nails what this paragraph is talking about. Okay, I hope this is clear. Thanks for watching the video. You can give your feedback in the comments section below. Please click the like button if you thought the video was helpful. For lesson updates, you may subscribe to my YouTube channel People Plus, or you may read my blogs at peopleprep.com, or you can directly connect to us through our Facebook page @PeoplePlus, or you can email to me at gagan@peopleplus.com. Thank you.